Alright, let me test the audio before I get started. Testing. Testing. Sound good. Alright, so picking up from yesterday, we actually ended up finishing up all the bookshelf units. And then I got told that they weren't able to find two 24-inch cabinets for the upper sections. So we're going to build those tonight. We're going to start by doing the face frames though, 'cause for these style cabinets, the face frames really matter because they have a dado or a groove if the light will allow it to show. They have a dado in it. So my panels, one need to receive in here, and the overall dimensions of the cabinet will be determined by the face frame. So I need to cut these accurately, and my overall cabinet needs to be 24 by 30. So to get that, the first step is to set up over to the miter saw. We're going to cut off our face frames, assemble our two face frames, and then we're going to go into cutting on the plywood. These are 8 foot long. I'm able to get two pieces at 24, and then one of the longer pieces, which I think is going to be like 28 and a half. I'm not going to be able to get 3 and then 1, so I'll end up being not enough material. So planning out your cuts is really important to make sure you have enough to get everything you need. Alright. So we need 24. And then before I place the stop block, I'll just bring my clamp over here. I do hate screw clamps. That's the one thing the festival saw does have over the heater. It actually has a useful miter saw in there. One of the next projects I'll probably be doing is routing in a T-track into the miter saw table. Because I did finally switch it out to the quarter Makita that I wanted, and I recently got a flex battery powered router and it came with the fence, so it'd be a great tool to do this. And now that that board's clamped, it's easier to set this board here and clamp it in place. We're working, and yes, we're currently building some cabinets. It's because it's seeing the white door, that's why it glares so bad. If I can get the door out of the camera, that would be. That's a better view of what we got going on. Glad to see it. Hopefully I can entertain you guys. Currently, again, we're doing some upper cabinets. We have some milled face frames from the company that built the other cabinets. They have a groove in it, so we have to cut all the face frames, and then we're going to assemble the face frames, and then from there we get the dimensions for the actual cabinet box. I don't have an integrated stop block on my miter saw yet, so all I do is take a block of wood and I clamp it in place. But my material, I already have it marked at 24, which is what I want. And the saw is registered there. Then the piece is clamped in place. So all I have to do is clamp this block firmly up against this one, and now I have an effective stop block at 24 inches. And I'm going to need 4 pieces this long. So now I'm going to do this clamp. get it on the same floor. So I'm gonna cut my other 3 pieces. Now we're going to do a little bit of math. These are all of our vertical styles for our cabinet. And we want an overall 30-inch cabinet, so we need to measure how wide this is. And it's actually right on 3 inches. So 30 minus 3 is 27, so my horizontal pieces need to be 27 inches. And I have 4 little pieces that'll do that. So we're going to head back to the miter saw, reset the stop block, and cut them at 27. If I stand there, I think I'll be in the way of the camera. Set the stop block on this end so you guys can see everything. So now, yeah, we need 27-inch pieces. So I can take the edge of this one and I'll mark for 27. Almost forgot to do it so you guys can see. I'm marking that at 27. I'll move my clamp over here to the other side. Bring the saw down. I want to make sure that my blade is on my right hand side of the mark. Double check my blade is still where I want it. And then I'll just move my stop block over here to the other side. You want to make sure that your stop block is square up against your material, so that way each piece that comes to reference off of your stop block is not going to hit it at an odd angle. Once you're good, undo this clamp, we'll make our first cut, and then I'll double check and make sure it's where I want it. Oops, I forgot I left my mic way over here. I never even put it onto my apron. Can y'all hear me? I apologize. I left my mic over there on the table. Were y'all able to hear all that? And there we go. All right, now I need to repeat that 4 more times. That's the one I want to keep. Alright. Now I'm going to bring you guys over here to the workbench, because next step will be pocket screwing everything together. And then once we do that, I can get the measurements for all the plywood, and we can go ahead and rip everything. So these are all of our horizontals, and if I did this right, this should add up to 30 inches. That glare was vicious, I apologize. And we have our 30 inches, which is exactly what we want for our overall cabinet dimensions. So these are all of our verticals. We're going to add pocket screws to this section here. And again, this does have a dado. Typically, I'll do 2 pocket screws, but this is going to receive the plywood. So we're only going to do pocket screws on this section right here. And for the 3/4 inch plywood, I have this one. And my jig is right here. Need to set it up for 3/4. I hate when it glares like that. And again, it's a bit of a tight spot to try to get a pocket hole, but there is enough room. That material right there is roughly 3/4 inch. So you have enough room to drill a pocket hole there. Pocket holes are 3/8 inch. So on this jig, there is a center mark, and there are 2 marks on the outside that shows you the outside diameter or where your pocket hole is going to land. So you just want to make sure that that's about centered on this 3/4 inch style, and you'll get what is that? Roughly a 3/60 of an inch on either side. So you have room to play with. You just want to make sure that your pocket hole isn't going to blow out the side of your material. So be careful before you clamp and drill. And then I'm going to rinse and repeat on all 4 pieces. One of the key tips to a clean pocket hole is something that's spinning really fast and a sharp bit. So I should have probably grabbed my other drill in here, because that one has a high enough speed to get it spinning. You want to make sure, I typically run it in my Roby or my DeWalt drill, because they have enough speed on them. Well, not the Roby drill. The Roby drill actually is a little slow, so I wouldn't get the cleanest pocket holes. Happy holidays to you too. Hope you enjoyed. Hopefully you got all the presents that you possibly could have wanted. Alright, that's the last pocket hole. Or at least 3/4 inch pocket hole. There'll be a lot more to come in the future. The next step is to bring them over here. We'll take 2 at a time. Put these 2 over there. These are all of our verticals. We want the 3/4 inch portion or the thicker portion facing inward. And for the rails, you want the 3/4 inch portion facing outward, so that when the cabinet's assembled, you don't see these pocket holes. So I can bring this one right here to the corner and grab my face frame clamp. And what I want to do is make sure that they're flush and then clamp it down nice and tight. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is, because sure. Do I get free tools? And I'm just doing that strictly because this is hardwood and I don't have any fine thread 3/4 inch Craig screws. So a little pre-drill doesn't hurt. Let's turn the clutch down. Nope, I need to grab my bigger clamp for that. Slide that back through there. I think these will do it. And then drive the screw. All right, now let's do the top. Then we'll do the other face frame. That is the one negative of only being able to use one screw. They still can spin. So these aren't perfectly solid face frames until you actually install the cabinet themselves. That's why I typically do not build cabinets this way, but I'm working with, again, the face frame material from the cabinet company. So I don't have any extra maple other than what I have and what I salvaged from what they did. And again, important to make sure that your pocket hole is going to be on the outside of your cabinet here. And then you just drive a screw. I hate that glare. I gotta figure out how to take care of that. There we go, nice and flush. And there we go, that's one face frame down. Check it for square. And spot on. Alright, let's double check that we have 30. And it's like 30 and like not even a 30-second. I think that's perfectly fine. Alright, we have one more face frame to put together and then we can start cutting off our plywood, which I need to know how deep this rabbet is, because that will determine our plywood. Or I can just measure how thick this is. That's just over 9/16. So 23 and 7/16. Is that math right? Yeah, 23 and 7. Hey. Looks like a quarter, over a quarter, 5/16 removed. Then that's only really a it's almost 5/8. With this almost being 5/8, it really needs to be 23. And 5/16. just to make sure that it's not over. All right. What I just said, I want to make sure that when I rip the plywood, $23.3 would be the whole thing. And I don't want to go 7/16 because this is almost 5/8. So I'm going to go 3/8. 23 3/8 is a safe number. I might go 5/16. 23 5/16 is probably the safest number to go with. And that'll be 24 tall. Hey, how you doing? Hope you had a great holiday. Might want to give that just a little bit of a tap. Perfect. Where's my glasses? No, it's not my glasses. I guess it's like whenever I move in and out of frame, it does stuff. That's really annoying. I gotta get a camera person on that. There we go. And that's all the face frames for these two cabinets. I'm going to slide the clamp over there for now. And now what we need to do is determine how wide or how long the pieces of plywood that are going to go in between here. I know these pieces are going to be 24 inches tall. Yeah. Those are going to be 24s. But the piece is going to run in between. Essentially needs to be the width from dado to dado. And that is 28 and 7/16 heavy. Not quite 28 and a half. I want to go 7/16 heavy. So that and those panels are only 26. So what I need to do is rip. And let me write that down. Let's actually go to the marker board so I can write down some of these numbers. Just so I don't forget. Oh, that was so fast. Oop. And that was 27, 28. Let's see. That glare probably won't let you guys see the marker board. I know my two side panels need to be need to be 23 and 3/8 light by 24 tall. And I need 4. The top and bottom. Let's do the back panel next. The back panel needs to be 24 tall by 27 wide. 28 and 7/16 heavy. I need 2 of those. The top and bottom are going to be recessed or narrower by the thickness of the 1/2-inch plywood. Is it? Oh yeah, the marker board's not even showing up. Yes, it is. Well, if I move out the way, the picture's got. I probably should have drew it bigger. The front and back panel are going to be the same width. Those are going to be 28 and 7/16. But this way they're going to be the thickness of this plywood, which is 7/16, plus another 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to do (22) and and a half for the top and bottoms, and I need 4. And I have 3 of those panels. So what I need to do, I'm trying to think on my cut list and what I need to rip in the order of operations. So what I'm going to do is, while I think about that, I'm going to put the camera right here on the marker board so you guys can see my doodles while I think about my cut list, because I have 3 panels that are 26 inches by 8 foot long. So one of those panels can do all of my side pieces, which are 24 inches. They don't really need to be a full 24 because the face frame is the actual 24 inches. So if they're like 23 and 7/8, that won't really matter because the face frame will make up the total size of the cabinet. So I can get all those out of one piece. The back panels need to be 24 inches. But I can't, I would have to rip them to 24, and I can get 3 out of one sheet and 3 out of another and then 1 out. No, I only need 2 of those, so I can get 2 out of one sheet. Oh, that sucks. I might have to set up the crosscut sled more than once. I mean, the rip. Okay, so what's going to have to happen is I'm going to rip 2 of these pieces to 24 inches, cross cut them to 28 and 7/16. That'll give me my 6 pieces that I need for my back and my tops. But then I'm going to have to set up the ripping blade to go back to rip 4 of those to 22 and a half. So the order of operations is I need to rip or I can rip the other one to 24. Rip all of them to 24. Then cross cut 23 3/8 and 28. That way I only set the table saw up once to 24. Then I cross cut the 23 and 3/8 and the other ones. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I have a game plan. Sorry for my rambling. So I need to bring the camera all the way back here so it won't be in the way of the table saw rip. We're going to angle you guys down to get the lights out the way. And then I'm going to have to move a couple items. I'll probably just put the face frames over here on the miter saw because I'm not using that anymore tonight. I will make it tight to walk past though. I might put these over here in the chair. Alright, that should be good. If any of you guys are new to the channel or the shop in general, one of the benefits that I love to have inside of my shop is my planer cart. It works as end feet for my table saw. Because the DW735 has an adjustable head on it, I can raise and lower it to actually work as end feet for the table saw, which is pretty awesome. Double check that. And then we're at 24. I saw the tape. Didn't think it'll be in the way. Besides that particular roll of tape trying to sabotage me, it's pretty easy to actually break down full sheets of plywood here inside of my shop. For the most part, once I set it up on the planer cart, I'm not really holding or lifting anything. I just have to push toward the fence. Ooh. And make sure my cut's going straight. And by the time it gets, off the planer cart, my hand is back here on the backside, then I can stand right behind it and finish my cut. Makes it really easy. Let's grab these other two pieces. Plywood storage is one thing in my shop I haven't fully figured out. One thing about this setup, my vacuum is on the right hand side, so if I ever turn the vacuum off, I have to duck under. Perfect. Next step is to unplug the saw and change the blade over for the crosscut blade. And I have that over here inside of my cabinet. always try never to lay my blades down on a metal surface. This is a 50 tooth combination blade. It's typically what I use for all of my cross cuts. If I had a higher tooth count one for plywood, I probably would be running that right now. But in this case, this one will be plenty fine. The fence and the crosscut sled itself will keep everything from having a bunch of tear out. I'm just going to hang this on the door for right now because that's going back in when I finish. Now we can plug the saw back in and lower the blade. Now let's actually move this panel before I grab the crosscut sled. And for this crosscut sled, my fence does need to come off. I think my table saw moved. There we go. All right, let's see. For one of them, I need 23 7/8. So I can just take my tape measure, hook it onto the kerf. I mean, not 7/8, but 23 3/8. That should be it. Let me take a scrap piece and set the blade height. Lock that down. And then because this crosscut sled is so large, I do like to bring the planer cart right here behind it. Gotta move that vacuum up some. Keep it from tipping. There we go. And then let me grab the clamp off of this one. The first cut's gonna be a really long piece hanging way over here. Probably need to move the miter saw and all that actually. Yep. You guys can't even see the miter saw, but essentially the miter saw is going to be slightly in the way for this cut. So what I'm going to have to do is break her down for right now. And push this into the corner. Does that give me the space I need? Barely. This first cut isn't going to be fun. I wish this crosscut sled had the ability to go to 48, because then I could cut it all the way to 48. It'd be a lot easier to manage. I might just freehand 48 and then reset up the stop block, because these are going to 23 and 3/8. So instead of wrestling this giant piece, that would be better. That's 48. We're going to bring our clamp in. We're nice and snug against our fence. We're clear of our blade. Last clamped in. So that's not fun. I did screw up. Yeah, by cutting it 48, I was only going to be able to get. Wait a minute. Oh, these are the back panels. I am tripping. Boom, boom. Then I cut the next one to 48. Because these are the back panels, and these are 28 and 3/8. But I also needed 2 more at the same distance. 4 more. So what I should have done is actually, so if I go ahead and cut the next sheet in half, no, I need to cut the next sheet to 60, which will give me 2 and 1. Oh yeah, I did screw up. Yeah, by cutting 1 to 48, I wasn't able to get 2 out of 1. I wasn't able to get 3 out of 1. I was only able to get 2. I might have to switch this up and use my circular saw. But getting everything square and accurate would be a pain in the butt. So I need to grab that 1/2 inch out the truck. Oh, that's no fun. I'm actually tired now. That actually made me sad. Oh, I was supposed to be able to do all this with the sheets right here. I do have another sheet inside of my truck though. So what I'm going to do is probably set up my circular saw, which is outside. Cut this to 60. And then cut the other one to 48. Because I can only get 3. I'll do the other 4 back there. Oh, that sucks. That actually makes me sad. I think 60 will give me plenty to cut off to get that. So we will go 60. And I can get my other two. Are both my circular saws outside? Yep. Nope, I do have one. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually extremely mad I didn't just do that in the first place. And I would have gotten 3 out of that last piece. It's actually bugging me just a little bit. I have to go grab a whole sheet out of my truck, which is perfectly fine. I have the plywood, it's just I wouldn't have needed to cut that piece. But we can use the same stop block. That was the other thing. I didn't want to have to reset the stop block to reset the table saw. realistically, the responsible thing to do would be to, let's see, I can make 1, 2, top and bottom, one back. I'll be missing the back to the other cabinet. That would do all the side pieces. So I can actually cut that to 48, then set this to the new stop block distance, which is 23 3/8. And then I can reset the table saw, and I'll just use my fence to rip it to that dimension. Just not use the crosscut sled. I don't need a stop block anymore. I'm not batching out more pieces. So that's probably what I'm going to do, is cut this to 48. Again, why did I not do this earlier? I don't know. Very disappointed in myself. And 23 3/8 was the depth. So we're gonna hook it right back into the curve. These are 24 already. These are the verticals. This will end up being the depth. Then I'll rip those to 22.5. Okay, we got a game plan. Alright, that's all the parts minus one. I need to go grab a sheet of 1/2 inch plywood out of my truck. I'm not going to use the crosscut sled anymore. I'm going to do the last few cuts just using the table saw and this fence because it's only one piece. And I'll just use one of those pieces to kind of set up the fence and the table saw and everything else. So what I want to do is take this off. I need to switch the blades back. And then I need to go wrestle that plywood in here. We're just going to stand you up right here for right now. We're going to swing you back around here. So unplug the saw. There we go. Ooh. Alright, now let's set up the table saw fence. That piece actually only needs to be ripped to 22 and a half because I'm going to have to run some of those to 22 and a half. Because yeah, I can leave those as back panels and I can go ahead and rip the other ones. So 22 and a half will save me the most on the other sheet. So we'll go 22 and a half. I'll move styrofoam and this, and I'm gonna run outside and grab that sheet of plywood out of my truck. And then I'm going to go ahead and lower the blade too, so I'm gonna slide it right across here. I'm going to leave the vacuum running so I don't have to duck underneath. That should be good about there. Boom, boom, boom. All good. Let me go run outside. I need to grab my keys. We're almost at the assembly part. Almost. After I get all the plywood cut, I do have to cut some notches in the bottom and the top panel to receive into the face frames. But I have a jig set up on my bandsaw for that. So we'll do that notch. And then we can start, well, and then I gotta run pocket screws. But then we can put everything else together. I'll be right back. Whew. That was fun. Alright. Now I use a scrap piece of 1/2 inch plywood to set the table saw blade depth. Height. I definitely meant to leave the vacuum running. I need to grab one more thing from outside and I can close the garage door. Whew. All right, we're all set up, but give me just a second. I'm gonna use the bathroom. Let's see. If I go 22.5, that is 7/8 smaller than the side panels to allow for the 7/16 back, and then like roughly 7/16 of space up against the wall opening space where I can drive a screw. So yeah, that's right. 22.5. Boom, boom, boom. I'm mad I did that though. That's a whole sheet that didn't need to get cut. It's alright. Now I need to duck underneath, start my dust collection, and do this cut. Before I switch the table saw to cross cut it, I'm going to rip the other 3 back panels to this dimension. I mean, other 3 top and bottom pieces. Alright, now I need to cut that one to the final length, which matches those. Which, before I can do that, I need to make that one shorter. Those are about 28 inches long, 28 and 3/8. So I'm going to cut that sheet off and give myself like a 30-inch piece. Make sure I grab the right one. This one is 22 and a half. So I cut off a 30-inch piece off of this. And then I can set the table saw fence to cut it to the same width as those, which is 23 and 3/8. So that has a nick on it. Where did I put the straight edge in the circular saw? Alright, now this becomes the extra piece that I go over here with this one. And now I need to cut that one to the exact same width. That's all of these. Which I could set up the crosscut sled and change the blade and do all that again. I am not. I am just going to rip her. I think that's pretty darn close. That would do. Next thing I need to do is go ahead and do the notches over on the bandsaw. So I'm going to show you the setup I have over there. I'm going to run the notches on all four of these panels. Then I can run out my pocket holes. And then I should be able to put everything together if my math is correct. Fingers crossed on that part. So I can actually swing you guys over here to the bandsaw. Currently, I have the fence set up to relieve just enough material so my top and bottom panels can lip around the face frame, and this stop block stops at the edge of where it needs to stop, I guess. Well, it's going to be enough room? Probably not. Let me grab one of the panels and see what kind of space I need. Oh yeah, that'll work. Let me grab my air protection to bring all the panels over here. Hey Kev, how you doing? Alright, and I'll finish that up with the jigsaw. Oh, lucky. I wish I got some tools this Christmas. My tools I have to buy. I don't have anybody else really grabs them. My mom grabs me a couple. Parents blessed me with the shop space. But boy, would I love to waking up to a brand new track saw. I'm building some cabinets. I have a cabinet install I need to do tomorrow, and we're about at the stage where we put everything together. The next step is all the pocket screws. And then we can go into assembly. So this is front and back. So I'm going to go and put an F on all of these so I don't get those mixed up. That's all the fronts. And these are smaller than those. So yeah, I think it's about time to do all the pocket screws. This is going to get screws across the face. Across all. This one's probably going to get them on all four sides. This one's only going to get them on the face. And then I should be good to go ahead and assemble everything. Let me double check though with one of the face frames, because it would be no fun to get all the way to the end and stuff doesn't fit. What I really want to test and see is this notch, and make sure that lands where I want it to. That's it. And then the back panel will just drop in there. Cool. Oh yeah, side drilling pocket holes. This is one that Craig Foreman would be really, really nice. And for the 1/2-inch pocket holes, I have the DeWalt impact set up. You want to make sure you're drilling all your holes on the proper side of the plywood. This is the ugly side, so this is where these holes are going to go. That's one completely pocket hold. That's two down. All right. Whew. Alright, that is all the top and bottom panels. Now I just need to do the sides. probably should go ahead and drill the pocket holes on the back panels while I'm in the groove of it. But I think I'm going to wait until I get... I probably should go ahead and do it. Probably should go ahead and do it. Oh, I'm just tired. But we're almost at the assembly portion. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do it now while I'm at it. Oh, there's one other thing I gotta do before I assemble it. I gotta go ahead and drill for peg for shelf pin holes. I almost forgot that. Be a pain in the butt to do after assembly, but there's a really simple process that I like to use to do it. Last thing I need to do is drill for shelf pin holes. And I need my center finding bit, which there's one right here. It's spring loaded. And we're going to be doing all of our side panels. Slide that out the way. And what I like to do is just use a piece of pegboard. And then square the pegboard up with the plywood itself. And then what you're going to want is, well, this is going to be a cabinet. It's going to be a bottom shelf. We're probably going to go ahead and X out that bottom 3/4 plus 1/2 inch. The bottom 1.25 inch is going to be shelving. You don't want any type of shelving. This is only going to be a 2-foot cabinet too, so we also are limited. So I would say, if I was to pull 1.25 inch from both sides, let's see, I would say all the way starting from 8 inches I can't remember how often shelf pin spacing. It's normally like every 4 inches, I think, though. These are on 1 inch center, so we're going to go 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. I give them the options inside of their cabinet. So what I'll do is, and then we want to go at least and then 4 inches from the back edge. Put this right there. One, two, three, four, 5. And those will be the holes that I drill out for the shelf pins. And again, all you do is make sure that your plywood is square, your pegboard is a fresh piece. This is a self-centering bit. Drill your starter holes. And all you have to do now is make sure that you have your front side and your bottom side of the panel facing the front side of your jig. So that's the front. I will label this the bottom. This is the front right panel. So let's do another front right panel. Right panel. Let's make this the bottom. And then you just draw out your circled holes. That's the front right panel. This would be a front left hand panel. So that means this is the bottom. So now we need to spin the jig around to the other side. Hey, how you doing? And we're making some upper cabinets. We're currently just drilling out the shelf pin holes. Again, because pegboard has holes on perfect 4-inch centers. This is a square piece of pegboard. All my cabinet parts are square. I can use it to lay out where I want my shelf pins. And again, this is just a center finding bit with all the holes drilled. I'll come back with a bit the proper size for all my actual pegs. Now one more panel to do. Yeah, that's also how I do all my bench stock holes. Like all the bench stocks on all my benches, I grabbed a sheet of pegboard the size of the whole entire bench, clamped it in place, marked all the holes, then came back and drilled all the way through with a 3/4 inch bit. Voila! Now I am able to go into the assembly process. Took a little bit to get here. Let me grab, where did I put the other clamp at? There's one here. I'm gonna grab a right side. Look, this is a back. The right sides are front. Front right side. And then this one goes over here. Smooth. Oh yeah, I'll probably go ahead and start pocket screwing the side panels in first, and then start trying to do the bottom. I wanted to try to clamp it up as I went, but it seems that is not what fate wants me to do. So we have it flush here to the bottom. We're going to take a pocket screw and drop it into one of our pocket holes that we drilled. Come back with our drill. And then lock that in. Then we're going to do the other side. Again, you want to make sure you're nice and flush at the bottom. That's not even in there. There we go. This dado honestly should have been a little bit deeper if it was actually meant to. This is really, I guess, from the factory, meant to make it easier to assemble, not so much for joinery or strength. This dado should have been a little bit deeper though. I don't speak Spanish, unfortunately, boss man. Now my next step is to take my gauge right here and set that reveal down here on the bottom. You guys can barely see that. With the bottom panel inside the dado, there's a space down here. So what I need to do now is drive in the screw down here at the bottom, make sure everything's at the proper depth, and then drive in my screws. So I'm unlocking one right here. We'll check this side. Lock that in, and then we can come up here and get this straight. All right. Now all we gotta do is the top, and then slide on the back panel. Too tight. Where did I put my hammer at? I don't remember where I put it. This one will do though. Oop, too much. I need to check my phone's battery life. I know it normally runs out after about 2.5, almost 3 hours. But I would like to finish at least one cabinet for you guys. The last thing left to do is put on the back panel. Also, so you guys can see, it is a standard 20 by 30 cabinet. Actually, let me double check that, because that would suck if that's all. I mean, 24 by 30, 24. And 30. Okay. Just to make sure that nothing bad happened throughout this process. But we're cooking with gas. Last step being the back panel, but I'm too short to do it this way, so I'm probably going to stand it up. Yeah. That should just fit in there. There we go. Let's make sure it's flush front and back. Probably I need to throw a clamp on it. Is this too small? No, it's not. Nice flush on the top, flush on the bottom. Tighten that up. We'll drive some screws there. I'll make sure it's nice and tight across the back too. Don't want any gaps or voids in the cabinet. And make sure she's nice and tight and seated. Alright, now everything's put together. The only things I haven't done is on the top. I have pocket holes that go into the back panel, keep that from flexing, and pocket holes that go into the face frame. I need to do that on the top and the bottom. And then we will also, let me make sure this isn't too deep this way. And we're right at 24 inches. So That's exactly what they asked me for. Anything beyond that, I don't really know. It's a 24 by 30. They wanted doors, but we didn't have enough maker to make doors. So that'll be something that has to get gotten afterwards. And the painters can paint that. Again, the whole situation more or less is going on is the cabinet company did not send the proper cabinets. It was supposed to be a 24-inch upper. They sent us a 36 and a 30 instead of a 24 and a 30. And then for the bookshelf units, they sent me a bunch of refrigerator panels. So essentially, I took the refrigerator panels home, and I'm making the 2 uppers. And thank you. I do try. But yeah, they wanted 2 bookshelves, and they sent the wrong uppers. I mean, they sent fridge panels. So essentially, by breaking down the fridge panels, I was able to make this unit, the other one that I'm about to put together, and the bookshelf units that I'm going to show you guys before I end the live stream. I'm pretty sure my phone is about to die. I typically get, 2 hours and 50 minutes before my phone dies on live. So we're probably about at that point. I just wanted to make sure I can get 1 cabinet completed. And I'll show you guys the bookshelves if you guys missed yesterday's live stream. So I think in my live stream title, I promised 2 cabinets in under 3 hours. I think minus that 1 goof I did earlier that set me back and had me break down the other sheet of plywood, we probably could have gotten all of them done. Sitting on the circular saw. But there we go. Our 24 by 30-inch cabinet. We have our shelf pin holes drilled on the inside. Actually, let me go ahead and take you guys out the camera stand so I can get you guys in there a little bit closer. Yeah, we have our shelf pin holes. Again, I typically do dados and everything else for my cabinets, but I was working with the material that I pretty much was left with, and time crunch as well. And yeah, my phone is on 15%. So give you guys a look at that. And then these were the bookshelf units that we did yesterday out of the refrigerator panels. We have all the filler strips and everything else already cut, so we're ready for the install come tomorrow morning. I have to put together this other 24-inch unit, and then 30-inch unit, and then I'm going to call it a night and get ready for tomorrow. I really appreciate everybody who's been hanging out and watched the live stream. Hopefully I taught you guys something. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you just enjoyed yourself. All the above. And yeah, I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.